So I'm going to start from the beginning on this one. This event happened when the enemy was in full-scale war against my family and myself. The closer I was drawing myself to Christ, the more demonic oppression was coming down on my family. I told you I even lost my wife to the enemy. And even today, I'm under attack once again. I cannot explain why I share what I share or why I share it when I do. I have to trust in God and trust I'm being led by the Holy Spirit. So this happened near the beginning of my awakening to Christ. I had finally used the name of the Lord against the enemy, and it had broken the facade. I could now see what my attackers actually looked like. So, like most men my age at the time, I spent a lot of free time on YouTube trying to learn. I was searching for truth. I had yet to discover all I needed was a Bible and an obsession for Christ. And the Holy Spirit would reveal and teach me everything I need to know. But it was late at night. My family had already went to bed, and I was soon to join them. But just before I closed out YouTube, I had this video pop up in my recommended. It looked like a short news clip. So, not knowing it was actually a Trojan horse, I opened the video and I would describe it as comical satire. A sinkhole had opened up and the news clip was going back and forth between a man of God and a man who, as far as I know, claims to be a Satan worshiper, perhaps. And the man is just babbling on and on this word soup that has zero coherency. I tell you, while I was listening, I could see the humor in it. But now I know whenever I see this man as a lover of Christ, I immediately shut my ears. I remove myself from the possibility of hearing him speak. So I went to bed that night and I began to dream. I dreamt that my wife had gotten her and myself mixed up in a satanic cult. And I tried to run with my wife, but no matter what I tried, my wife would just lead this satanic cult back to us. And right before I woke up in my dream, I looked at my wife as these men were putting us in a vehicle, and I said to her, "This is your doing. I'll never escape this evil with you. I'll have to leave you behind." And I woke from the dream, so horrified and feeling so ill that I turned on the bedside lamp. I lay there thinking about the dream, a dream that I understand on a whole nother level today. But then I didn't understand. So as I laid there in bed next to my wife, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to pray. So as I clasped my hands together and as I thought in my head, "Dear God," I felt and heard a great wind begin to blow in my house. And suddenly down the hall from my room, I heard screaming that I would describe as a demonic horde. And my bedroom door was at my feet, wide open, and the hall light was on. My room was lit with the lamp, and suddenly I can see my hallway is filled with this brown tethered cloth material. It looks like an old sailing cloth off of an old pirate ship blowing around, and this huge cloth pours into my bedroom and it fills my bedroom as it's flowing around in all directions, and this is all happening in less than seconds. Before I can even comprehend what's happening, this floating cloth has my whole bed covered. And from out of the jumbled mess of tethered material, a horrendous skull-like face appears with hideous arms, and this thing reaches out and grabs me from the back of my neck and jerks my head up closer to its face. And now I'm face to face with this screaming entity, only I can no longer see its face. All I can see now is inside its mouth. I see it has a serpent-like tongue, but the scariest thing is the roll after row of teeth this thing has. I can feel its claws digging into my neck as it's holding me, screaming in my face. I'm absolutely terrified. I'm in shock. And this next part disappoints me. You see, instead of saying the name of God, I instead reach over and start to shake my wife, and I say her name. My wife, at the time, is a very heavy sleeper, but she finally awakens, and right when she wakes up, the entity goes to my right, dropping me back in bed as it disappears. I had an incision on the back of my neck for a week from this attack, and the sore would eventually turn black before healing. That's not the first time this particular entity had attacked me, but as of today, it was the last. You see, I have no doubt it was the man's HEX, his jumbled up words that I listened to that night, that gave the enemy the extra boost for such an attack. Not to mention the dream that made me sick before the attack occurred. Now, I don't know the man personally. I have nothing against him per se. One of my best and most reliable friends is a paganist who is involved with some type of Satanism in some way. So personally, I cannot say anything about the man. I'm simply warning those who love Christ to be aware of the power of hexes and words. To anyone listening, a hex might make you laugh, but I assure you they are no joke. I don't encourage anyone to go looking to see the kinds of things this man says. I warn you that this man's words terrify even me, because now is the time for these entities to rule, and one must have God in him and with him in order to fight these kinds of evils now. I know you see it. You see it in your friends and family. You see it on TV. You can see the enemy is controlling your neighbors and even the person behind you in traffic. The time is now when choosing God means enduring attacks. It means nothing going as planned. It means heartbreak and sorrow, because we are no longer of this world. We are suffering because we are walking amongst the enemy. But I say to you this: dance and rejoice that out of all history, God would call you worthy to suffer in the last days.